Hi, SCAD Radio. This is your branding director, Taylor Eby, here with Domee. First, I do want to ask if you would be able to say you are listening to SCAD Radio for us.
You're listening to SCAD Radio.
Thank you so much. So to start, I was curious, how are you enjoying Film Fest so far?
It's amazing. It's my first time here in Savannah, first time here in Georgia. It's a beautiful campus. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I love it.
Fantastic. It's very historic, so it's a good time. But to kind of discuss Turning Red, I personally am a huge fan of the film. And as a concept artist myself, I noticed that each of the, particularly the main cast, have distinct silhouettes and features. Was there anybody in particular or any kind of group of people that you drew inspiration of for our main cast?
Yes, they were all directly inspired by friends that I've had growing up. Miriam, she is like May's BFF. She's also like, she's that like tomboy, that like kind of like rebellious friend that your mom may or may not approve of, who kind of pushes May out of her comfort zone. And then we have Abby, who's like the short, angry, passionate Korean friend who's directly based off of and voiced by my real life friend, Hayne Park. We were roommates in college together, and she would always be that friend that like got angry for you. Like, what did he say? Let me at him. And I just love that energy, and I love that. And I have never seen a character like that in animated film before. And then Priya, it has these like gothy vibes, which I totally, I just feel like every kid kind of had a friend or was that friend in middle school or high school. Like you had like an emo, goth, vampire, high school kind of phase in your life, and she totally represented that. And we just wanted the girls just to feel real, like to feel like they were all very specific and they were their own unique characters, but they also loved May and supported her and were her squad and support system.
That feels correct, because the friendships do feel so authentic that I'm like, they have to be based off of real people. They can't just come out of your brain like that. So throughout the film, we also see that Ming Lee, May's mother, serves as kind of the primary antagonist, but she's very humanized throughout the film. She's not given the typical Disney villain treatment. Can you kind of talk about why that is?
Yeah, it was important for us to really depict this mother-daughter, specifically this Asian mother-daughter relationship, with as much authenticity as possible. And that meant, on one hand, not shying away from some of the like edgier, harder truths about being the daughter of an Asian mom, which I can attest to being. There's a lot of pressure, but there's a lot of love there too. And also we had to make sure that we weren't depicting just like a one-note stereotype, like we weren't leaning into the dragon lady or the tiger mom. And that was important for me and the writer, Julia Cho, who's Korean American, to make sure that we depicted all of the Asian women in this movie with that dimension, but also made sure we didn't like sand them down and like sanitize them and make them like, boring cutouts. And that was always a balance, because we would get flack from both sides, right? Like, oh my gosh, like she's too harsh, she's too stereotypical, or like she's not authentic enough. Like, like what Asian mom would say "I love you" to their child like out loud? Like we put that in after we got a note about that, and then we're like, you're right. Like we have to like stay true to who they are as well. So it just took a lot of like back and forth, like rewriting, and also working with Sandra, working with Julia, and just making sure that like all of the Asian creative voices on the crew like weighed in too, so that like we all felt good about the way that Ming was written. And also just like she's so funny.
She is.
And we just had to make sure that anytime we like wrote a line for her, that it just had to like kill. It had to be funny, because she's just so, I just imagined her as just this iconic, funny, fierce, but like kind of kooky lady. And I didn't want to like, I just wanted to preserve that as much as possible through the 4-year writing and rewriting process.
I'm sure that was a challenge, kind of striking that balancing act, but I think it's really a credit to the film that you have really managed to capture that authenticity while still keeping it light and fun. One of the questions I have is actually from one of our contributors, Eliza Garcia, and she read somewhere that you were talking about how, as a tween, that you were really involved with fandom culture, specifically Harry Potter. She wanted to know, have you been able to see the impact that your movie has had on fandom culture and kind of the response that people are having to it?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not on Twitter, but I will like log on and lurk sometimes, the turning red hashtag. And yeah, I've loved seeing people posting their fan art from when they were 13, like just everyone kind of embracing and leaning into the cringy earnestness of teen fandom, and not being being embarrassed by it, but like not hiding it anymore. I think it's something that a lot of professionals in the animation industry and even in film or like even novel writing, everything, like we've all had that phase, but we don't talk about it because we're also embarrassed about that fanfiction.net account or that DeviantArt account or that, like Wattpad or Tumblr, but you all do it. Admit it. Be proud of it.
You heard it here, folks. You heard it here first, folks. Domee, she says, blast your fandom account. Blast your fan fiction account. No, but we've all done it. It's 100% true. Going off of that, we were talking a little bit about with Eliza. She was curious about the difference in working in kind of an all-female environment as opposed to some of the more male-dominated writer rooms that you've been in the past.
Yeah, well, I feel lucky in that I've only worked at Pixar, and even in those rooms that were pretty male-dominated, I was on specific shows that were, like, all the dudes were pretty chill, which I was I feel lucky for, because there were some shows that weren't. But, yeah, I feel like working on an all-female-led crew was amazing in that there was just such a shorthand for dealing with a lot of like the themes and story points that came up in the film. Like it wasn't met with like confusion, like why mermaids? Like why does May draw mermaids? And so like everyone was like, oh yeah, that's like a thing, like that, like a mermaid phase. Unquestioned. Yeah, unquestioned. Or like just like those embarrassing moments with her and her mom, like anytime we were feeling a little bit like, oh, are we going too far? Like I'm like watching the cut and edit, and then we just have a chorus of women being like, no, you know how embarrassing it was. Lean into the cringe. It was even worse than this. You know that. Embrace it. Don't run away from it. So we were all like gassing each other up in that sense, and I think that's why the film is as cringy and authentic as it is, because we were all there in May's shoes at some point.
Right. I mean, for me and Megan in the theater, when that scene comes up where she's drawing all the pictures, we were slapping each other laughing because it is so authentic. We have all done that before. And to end on kind of a more fun question, the world wants to know, who is your favorite member of Four Town?
It would have to be Robert. It'd have to be Robert. I like he's my bias. Yes.
That's the correct choice. You've made the right choice. Thank you so much for taking a moment to have an interview with us. We really, really appreciate it. Guys, this has been your branding director, Taylor Eby at SCAD Radio, More Than Music. Thanks for watching.